Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Hope you're all doing fine. I've been picking up a steady stream of LPs from charity shops in the last few months. So much so that I thought I'd start an occasional series where I showcase some of these. They're all in pretty much minty condition and they're all around £1 each. Some are a little less, some a little more. Okay, let's get started. First one is Simon Turner's self-titled debut album, and this was UK Records' attempt to try and duplicate the teeny bop success of acts such as David Cassidy and Donny Osmond here in the UK. And amongst the tracks on the LP is his version of The Prettiest Star, David Bowie's song, and it was actually one of the first 7-inch singles that I ever bought, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's almost as good as David Bowie's version. You also get a couple of covers of Gerry Rafferty's songs, including the Humble Bums' Shoeshine Boy. He's probably, well, certainly at that time, he was probably more well known as an actor. I can remember him appearing in the BBC's adaptation of Tom Brown's School Days. But after this, he had he's still having quite a fascinating career, as he finished up as a film composer and has had real success as that, including working on various Derek Jarman movies. And a lot of his soundtracks have been put out on the Mute record label. But this is where it all started, back in I think about 1973. And next, this is a nice collection. It's the Songs of Richie Furay by POCO. And Richie Furay was with POCO for the first 5 albums plus a live album. And POCO are remembered obviously for their quintessential country rock harmonies, and Richie Furay was key to some of their catchiest, or to writing some of the catchiest songs. And on here you get, amongst the best of these, the title tracks from the albums, A Good Feeling to Know and Picking Up the Pieces. And it's really nice to have a selection of his material with POCO all on one album. And next up, it's Bill Justice and Raunchy and Other Great Instrumentals, and this was put out on the Sun label back in 1969, and it's a compilation of his most successful Sun recordings, and including his breakthrough instrumental hit Raunchy. It's a song that's captured the imagination of musicians over the years. I can remember, for example, a version by Alex Chilton, which even recreated the sax solo. Justice didn't look like a rock and roller, I'm afraid, so hence the young lady on the album cover. If you like saxophone-led instrumentals from the 50s and early 60s, I think you'll find much to enjoy here. But you do have to look out for the occasional more cheesy number, such as The Stranger, which sounds like it comes from the theme to a film western. Next, it's a double album by HERBIE Mann, The Evolution of Mann, on the Atlantic label. And this is a compilation of tracks that he recorded in the 1960s. He's a flautist, of course, and an early popularizer of Latin music in the USA, and he also strays into the occasional jazzy take on Southern soul on this album. It's a bit too bland at times, to be honest, but the best tracks here I think sound like they're lifted from a sort of groovy mid-60s film set on the streets of New York. Next, it's DELLA, REESE and I Gotta Be Me, This Trip Out, and this was put out on the ABC label. I think she's mostly remembered as more of a cabaret artist and a very middle-of-the-road jazz artist. Although this strays into middle-of-the-road jazz, the best tracks on here really show off her more soulful side. Her powerful vocals, with their roots in gospel, really excel on the track I Got the Blues, and the cream of LA studio musicians who appear on this have really, I think, enjoyed the fact that they've given the opportunity to funk up some of the numbers. Her version of the Association's Never My Love, I think, was even a bit of a success here in the UK on the Northern Soul circuit. You also get the track I Gotta Be Me, which sounds a bit like Ray Charles style of soul music, and a self-written number by her called No Explanation Necessary, which is a real country soul delight. And next it's the debut album by Darts, Everyone Plays Darts, on the Magnet label. And I've always had a soft spot for Darts. Back in the late 70s, they brightened up many a boring episode at the Top of the Pops with both their energy and their humour. This album was produced by Tommy Boyce, part of the songwriting partnership of Boyce and Hart, no less, that worked with the Monkees in the 60s. Dart's version of The Boy from New York City is almost matches the Ad-Libs original, and has a great guitar solo and backing vocals which really kick up a storm. But the highlight, by far the best track on here, is the Motown influenced original, It's Raining, which shows off the songwriting and tenor vocal skills of Ian Collier, and fantastic track, really worth checking out if you can find it on YouTube. And next it's the John Lennon collection. I've possibly got a copy of this already, but this was in absolutely immaculate condition, unplayed condition, and pretty sure mine didn't have the inner sleeve anyway. And this best of came out in 1982. It's slightly spoilt by having too many tracks from the Double Fantasy album, which only came out a couple of years before. I think it's got 6 tracks from that album. And also you get nearly an hour's worth of music crammed onto one LP, and these days it would definitely be stretched down onto a double. But it's still good to hear the original mixes of his hits from the 70s, rather than those rather bland remixes that have come out in the last couple of years, which have taken all the energy and soul out of the tracks for me. And also you get some fantastic photos by Annie Leibovitz, including that one there, fantastic. At the same time as picking up that John Lennon LP, I also picked up Wings' Greatest, another record that I already have in the collection, but this is in far nicer condition, and also includes, if I can find it, also includes a poster. And this was Paul McCartney's first post-Beatles comp, and at the time it came out in 1978 it was a very useful release to have, because it included 4 singles that had never been on an album before, plus Live and Let Die, which was only available on the James Bond soundtrack. Like the Lennon collection, it's also got too much music crammed onto one LP, so you've got nearly an hour's music on here, but you certainly can't argue with the quality of that music. And next up, this was a really pleasing find for me, and it's a Country Gazette live on Transatlantic, a band with real pedigree. They've got members who've played in various bands such as the Dillards, artists such as Bill Monroe, Kentucky Colonels, Dillard and Clark. You get a mix of originals, traditional songs, and also some contemporary covers as well. And the instrumental prowess on offer here is just breathtaking. The vocal harmonies on tracks such as Roses for a Sunday Morning, and also a cover of Delaney Bramlett's Never Ending Love, really impressed me the most. And I think it's bluegrass influenced country music at its best. It's a various artists album called White Mansions, A Tale from the American Civil War, 1861-1865, and this was put out on A&M Records. It's a country concept album built around the story of 4 characters from the Confederate States of America during the American Civil War, and the characters' stories are sung by Waylon Jennings, Josie Coulter, and also John Dillon and Steve Cash from the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. It's an expensive package, and it comes with this lovely glossy booklet inside, which just a couple of pages from it. Guest musicians on the album include Eric Clapton and Bernie Leadon, What's surprising, considering the pedigree of some of the artists performing on this record, is that all the songs were written by a then inexperienced songwriter, came from the UK, called Paul Kennelly. I think he went on to write quite a bit with Emmylou Harris in later years. It can all be a bit overwhelming, like most concept albums, as you're sat there trying to work out what on earth's happening in the story. I think the best way to approach the record, though, is just to let the music wash over you and just enjoy the individual songs. Southern Boys and Dixie, Now You're Done are the standouts for me. And next, I was really pleased to find this, Mamas and Papas 20 Golden Hits. And this is a perfect compilation spread across 2 discs. Every song really hits home, even their folk rock interpretations of Dancing in the Street and Twist and Shout. It's only let down for me by some very perfunctory liner notes. And for me, the best track by far by the Mamas and Papas is their masterpiece 12:30, Young Girls Are Coming to the Canyon. Superficially it sounds like an ode to the joys of living in Laurel Canyon, but the enigmatic lyrics, if you look closer, certainly suggest that there's something more unsettling and happening below the surface. Jim Phillips wrote the song way before Charles Manson arrived on the scene, but in retrospect, you can understand why Quentin Tarantino used that track in his film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I was really pleased to find this one in mint condition, looks unplayed. Emmylou Harris luxury liner on the Warner Brothers label, and this was her 4th solo album. And the Hot Band by this point had really developed into a fantastic band. You get some inspired covers, most notably her version of Townes Van Zandt's Poncho and Lefty, which helped bring Townes Van Zandt to the forefront of many new listeners. Her pellucid, mournful vocals on the self-penned Tulsa Queen, with some subtle electric guitar from legend James Burton, and also some moody, doleful harmonica from Mickey Raphael, are all, I think, in a class of their own, and it's well worth listening to that track, if not the whole album if you see it. Okay, that's it for now, and I'll be back with another video in the next week or so. Okay, take care.